So as we all know, managers can be a little bit hit and miss when they're making new signings. What I thought we'd do in today's video is go through every Championship club's manager, look at his first signing at your club, and I'll be rating them out of 10 for how they went on to do. I thought this one would be a bit of an interesting concept, so if you do go to enjoy, make sure to leave a like. And also before we do hop into the video, I just wanted to wish the best to Andre Wisdom. Obviously, I'm sure all you guys saw this story. It came out the other day. He'd been stabbed and robbed. It was just a, a horrific story now. North End have got Derby coming up next, and thankfully now he is in a stable condition and everything should be okay. But if you do want to help out in any way, some Derby fans have set up a GoFundMe page to show their support for Andre Wisdom. They're making a flag for him, and any spare money from that will be going towards charity. So if you want to get involved with that, I'll leave a link to it in the top line of the description down below. But without any further ado, guys, let's hop into this video. Gerhard Struber's first signing at Barnsley was Marcel Ritzmaier in January. I'm going to give him a 5 out of 10 for what he's done at Barnsley so far. He actually had a really good debut for them, really promising against Huddersfield. He won a lot of tackles, brought a lot of energy to their midfield in that one, but since then hasn't quite really been able to live up to that. In the game where Preston went to Oakwell earlier on the season, he got caught out a few times in that game, looked a bit sloppy on the ball at times. He came over from Wolfsberger in Austria in January, and there's obviously a player in there, he came through at PSV, but I don't think that Barnsley fans are yet to see the best of him, really. Nathan Jones at Luton Town, Glenn Ray, 8 out of 10. Glenn Ray initially signed for Luton in March 2016 on a loan deal that was then made permanent the season after, and what a player he's gone on to be for Luton, obviously, a massive part of their promotion from League 2 into League 1, a tough tackling enforcer in midfield. This season he's been recovering from an ACL injury, which he picked up last season, but I think that since his reintroduction into the team in this new year, he's had a massive influence on Luton, keeping things a lot tighter at the back, being a leader for them on and off the pitch. Overall, just a great signing for Luton, especially given it was on the free. Danny Cowley at Huddersfield Town, Danny Simpson, 6 out of 10. I think that this one turned out alright, really, considering that Simpson came on the free. His initial impact at Huddersfield I thought was very good. He assured things up at the back at a time where Huddersfield were really leaking goals. And sure, his performances waned, now and again, but overall I thought he was a solid addition to the squad. Danny Cowley's actually spoken recently about him wanting to keep Danny Simpson on, but that not being able to happen. Overall, it wasn't too bad of a deal. Grant McCann at Hull City, Matt Ingram, 5 out of 10. I mean, you can't really judge this one too much because Ingram came in to be a number 2 goalkeeper, and in the end that's what he has been. He did make one of his appearances at Deepdale this season, that being in the League Cup. Preston going on and winning that one on the penalties. It finished 2-2, and Preston won 5-4 on pens in the end. He's played a total of 3 matches this season, all 3 of them being in the Cup. I think in the North End game he probably could have done better with one of the goals he conceded, but at the end of the day, he's a number 2 goalkeeper. He's coming to do that, and so you can't really be too harsh. Michael O'Neill at Stoke, Jordan Thompson, 7 out of 10. Overall, I think that Stoke got a pretty decent deal on this one in January. Coming over from Blackpool, just 23 years old, the defensive midfielder has made a pretty decent impact on Stoke so far. I think in the home games they've had especially, he's put in a string of decent performances. Good set piece taker, got a good whip on him. Positionally, I think he's strong. I think there's more to come from him as well. As Neil Warnock hasn't made any signings at Middlesbrough yet, instead we'll go to Jonathan Woodgate's first signing instead. That being Thomas Mayas, I'll give him sort of like a 5 out of 10, similar to Matt Ingram as well, really. He came in to be a backup keeper, and that's what he's been so far this season. Did feature in the FA Cup for their game against Spurs. In the first leg, I actually thought he had a decent game, to be fair to him. Made a couple of decent saves. In the second leg, got caught out a little bit as being a bit flat-footed early on, and obviously then Spurs went on to progress. He had previously been at Middlesbrough for quite a bit before, and on his return, he's been, what you'd sort of expect, really. Lee Burry at Charlton Athletic, Lyle Taylor, 9 out of 10. I probably would have given Taylor a 10 if Charlton had gone on to sell him for a profit. Obviously they'll be losing him on a free this summer, but what an impact he had coming in from AFC Wimbledon. 21 goals and 11 assists in his first season in League 1, helping them to get promoted. And this season in the Championship as well, his goal scoring record has also been excellent considering the lack of game time he's had due to injury. We've spoken about Taylor a lot through this season so far. There's no doubt going to be, a lot of interest throughout the summer. For Charlton, he was a top signing. It was just a shame how things sort of ended for him there. Paul Cook at Wigan Athletic, Che Dunkley, 7 out of 10. Signed in the summer of 2017 on a free transfer. I think he's gone on to do fairly well for Wigan over the years, obviously. This season, still their joint top scorer with Keith Moore with 6 goals as a centre-back. In the 3 seasons he's been at Wigan so far, he's racked up over 100 appearances for them. Obviously got promotion with them from League 1 and overall has been a solid player for them. Pep Clotter at Birmingham, Dan Crowley, 7 out of 10. After he spent a couple of years in Dutch football, he returned to England for around 700k, and I think Birmingham have got a decent deal on this one. Obviously, we've spoken about him quite a bit on the channel recently about where's his best position, where does he fit in at Birmingham, and I do think that he is best when he is central, and obviously Birmingham can't always accommodate for that, and throughout the season he has sort of been stuck out wide where he's been sort of up and down, but when he is on the ball and involved in the game, I think he is one of the most intelligent players that Birmingham have got at the club. He was brilliant at the weekend against Hull, got a goal and assist in that game, and I think that next season we'll see who Birmingham do appoint as their manager, but I think there's a lot more to come from him. Mark Bone at Reading, Felipe Aruna, 6 out of 10. I mean, this one's another hard one to judge because he's not really featured all too much for Reading. We've only seen him play 3 times for them so far this season, since signing in January on the free transfer, coming over from Brazil in Sao Paulo. The Brazilian defensive midfielder has obviously been one who's been bought for the future, 24 years old. And like I say, we've only really seen a flash of him so far in the Championship, so we'll wait and see for that one, how he gets on next season. Mark Warburton at QPR, Johan Barber, 7 out of 10. I think that Johan Barber, he's got his, his strengths and weaknesses to his game. Yes, he can be a little bit rash sometimes. He does, give away the odd penalty or something like that. But if you look at QPR's win percentage so far this season with and without Barber, I think it's obvious to see the impact that he has on their side. In terms of having that ability to bring the ball out of defence, he's got that ping on him where he can switch the play. Considering they got him in on a free as well in the summer, it's not bad business at all. I think if you get the right person alongside him, you get the best out of Barber then. Gary Monk's first signing at Sheffield Wednesday was Manuel Hidalgo, but as we've not seen him play at all for Wednesday yet, we can't really judge him. So instead for Sheffield Wednesday, we'll go to Alessio de Cruz, their second signing under Monk. Currently he's on loan to Sheffield Wednesday for the rest of the season from Parma. Before the break, I wasn't really too sure. We'd only really seen a glimpse here and there of him at Wednesday. Since football's resumed though, he's looked pretty promising. Obviously got the assist for the Connor Wickham goal against Forest. Brilliant delivery from the corner, is spot on for that goal. So overall, I'll give him like a 6 out of 10, but we'll see how he does for the rest of the season. Lee Johnson at Bristol City, Josh Brownhill, 10 out of 10. I mean, Brownhill couldn't really have done more at Bristol City, could he? They got him on pretty much a free transfer. I know they had to pay a little bit of compensation to Preston then because of his age, but they got him for peanuts. They ended up selling him in January for, I think, 9 million to Burnley. And he went on to have some great moments for Bristol City as well. Really developed his game and took it to another level there. Went on to captain them as well. Scored some unbelievable goals. Obviously, he left with that one against Cardiff, which was an absolute banger early on this season. At Preston and throughout Brownhill's time at North End, we always knew there was a player there, but when we were promoted up to the Championship, he was quite far down our pecking order. So obviously, he took that gamble to leave, and it's more than paid off for him, and Lee Johnson got an absolute bargain there. Gary Rowett at Millwall, Ryan Woods, 7 out of 10. Ryan Woods is an interesting one because at Brentford, he was one of the most sought after holding midfielders in the league. He then made his move over to Stoke and lost his way a little bit. I think that this season now, since January at Millwall, he's slowly been getting his mojo back at Millwall, and he'd have been forgiven for having a slow start there after he was sort of like put out in the cold at Stoke, but I think he added quality to this Millwall midfield. On the ball is very good. I think he's formed good partnerships with those around him, and I'd be interested to see if Millwall go in for him on a permanent in the summer. Steve Cooper at Swansea, Jake Bidwell, 6 out of 10. I think that Jake Bidwell at this level is just like a steady Championship player. I think that that's what he's been throughout the season for Swansea, really. Featuring at left back, he has played the majority of the season for them so far, making 29 starts for them. He came over on a free transfer from QPR in the summer, and like I say, throughout the season, I think he's been pretty steady for them. Tony Mowbray at Blackburn Rovers, Bradley Dack, I think it's got to be another 10 out of 10 for this one. 750k is all Bradley Dack cost Blackburn Rovers. Is an absolute bargain in this day and age. Coming over from Gillingham, massive in their promotion season from League One, got 18 goals and 9 assists. After that, a lot of people were questioning, is he going to be able to make the step up to the Championship? He blew everyone out of the water in that first season, got 15 goals, 7 assists. He was absolutely brilliant. And this season, of course, almost got into double figures and then obviously picked up that horrific injury. I think that Dack has been pretty central to Blackburn's revival as a club, really, over the last couple of years. And the club was hopeful that they'll be able to go one further with Dack and get to the Premier League, but should that not happen, they'll get a massive sell-on from anyway. So win-win for Blackburn. He's been brilliant. Philip Cocu at Derby, Kieran Dowell. I'm going to have to give him like a 4 out of 10, and even that's pushing it, I think. This loan move did not work out. Kieran Dowell a couple of seasons ago had one brilliant loan spell at Forest, and since then just hasn't quite been the same player. It was always going to be a bit of a difficult job at Derby. Obviously, he was brought in to replace the creativity of Mason Mount from last season. He's already fighting an uphill battle. But let's be real, he didn't get anywhere near that level, did he, for Derby? And the loan spell was cut short in the end because it just doesn't work out sometimes. I mean, they started the season out with Dowell, and now they got Rooney in midfield. I think Derby are winning these days. Alex Neil at Preston, Darnell Fisher, 8 out of 10. Darnell Fisher, for me, is one of the best fullbacks in the league. I thought we got a brilliant deal when we picked him up from Rotherham, and I went back and looked at the response from Rotherham fans when we actually signed him. They were adamant that he was one of the worst fullbacks, one of the worst people to ever play for Rotherham in their history. And so initially I was like, oh no, what have we got on our hands here? But since coming into Preston, he's been absolutely brilliant. Defensively and going forward, throws himself into 50-50s. I know there's the whole conception around North End and Ben Pearson picking up a lot of yellow cards, but Darnell Fisher, let me tell you, is on another level this season. He's got 11 so far this season, and in his last 3 seasons has picked up 35 yellow cards, which is absolutely mental. He is a bit of a card merchant, but I do love Fisher. Neil Harris at Cardiff City, Albert Adoma, 7 out of 10. They brought in a few players on deadline day, but I've chosen Adoma. Overall, I think he's had a decent impact there so far. Grabbed 2 assists for them, offers some bit different on that right hand side, and he filled that void a little bit for while Mendes Liang was out injured, and he, by the way, has had some impact since lockdown. But overall, a decent deal. Scott Parker at Fulham, Josh Onuma, 6 out of 10. Onuma this season has been very hit and miss whenever I've watched Fulham play. You never really know what you're going to get from him. At one point in this season, it looked like he was finally finding his flow at Fulham, then he picked up an injury. Obviously, he did score that goal against Leeds earlier on this season when they beat them at Craven Cottage 2-1. And when he is on the ball, you can see he's got quality there. I just think it's his maybe decision making that needs to improve. You can tell there's a player there, but we've not always seen it for Fulham this season. Sabri Lamucci at Nottingham Forest, Thiago Silva, I'll give him a 7.5 so far this season, I think. He's an interesting one, really, because I think that when he is properly utilised, I think he's probably best in that number 10 position where he can be most involved going up the pitch. I think he is a very intelligent player, you know. I go back to that game at the City Ground, Forest against Derby, did that flip-flop against Wayne Holmes, absolute madness. He can be very silky on the ball, and when the game suits him, he can absolutely run things. Although I do think at times as well, he can go missing from time to time, maybe if he's playing a bit deeper sometimes. But overall, considering it's his first full season in English football, I think he's adapted really well. Thomas Frank at Brentford, Christian Norgard, I'll give him a 8.5. I think he's been really good for Brentford this season, probably one of the most underrated defensive midfielders. Back when I did my ranking video of DMs in the Championship, I put Norgard into my top 5 in the league. I really think he's been that good this season. Before I made this video, I was watching a tackling montage of some of Norgard's tackles so far this season. The guy's absolutely brilliant. He's been vital for Brentford this season, fits really well into their midfield, good on the ball and off it. I do think there's a lot more to come from him as well. I think he's only getting started. 26 years old, he's got a lot more to come, I think, Norgard. West Brom, Slaven Bilic, Filip Kravinovic, 7.5 out of 10, I'd say. It's been a good first season for Kravinovic in England, obviously. Getting him on loan this season, he's made a lot of his appearances off the bench, 20 starts, 13 from the bench. But when he is starting, he's really able to show his quality. I think he's got a brilliant relationship with Pereira. Those two really link up with each other well. In terms of key passes, threading those through balls forward, vision on the ball, he's right up there as one of the best in the Championship, and attacking intelligence as well. I'm interested to see if he starts tomorrow for West Brom. And then finishing it off with Leeds United, Marcelo Bielsa, his first signing being Lewis Baker coming on loan from Chelsea. This one, I don't think it went to plan. Out of 10, what would I rate it? I'd probably give it like a 3 or something. I mean, he barely featured for them, did he? He eventually got recalled in January, then got sent back out on loan to the Championship with Reading. He only made 2 starts for Leeds, 9 then came off the bench. And his average match rating during that time being just 6.11, which is very low. I think to make it at Leeds, especially under Bielsa, when you're coming in as a loan player, it does take the right mentality. We've seen a few loan spells not work out at Leeds there, but we've also seen Bielsa, you know, craft some people into like completely new players, like Jack Harrison compared to when he first came into Leeds to now, completely different player. Sometimes though, when someone goes on loan from the Premier League to the Championship, it just isn't to be, and Lewis Baker at Leeds didn't work out, did it? But guys, there you have it. There was every Championship manager's first signing for your club and what I'd rate that transfer out of 10. So let me know in the comments down below if you agree with my ratings or not. Would you have gone higher or lower? And also let me know down below if you'd like to see any other types of videos similar to this. But guys, like I say, that will now wrap it up. So if you did go to enjoy, make sure to leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. Make sure to subscribe for a bit of regular Championship content. But apart from that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.